Hello everyone. As part of my project celebrating Dust 514's legacy in the run-up to the 10th anniversary of its shutdown, CCP Rattati agreed to an interview to discuss all things New Eden FPS related. So, here it is in full. Enjoy. I think I was just going to start with, so how did you kind of first hear about the game? Because I understand you were in CCP Reykjavik at the time, so take it away.
So I was my first job at CCP was a financial analyst, first of its kind. And my first job was to basically just go through the books, analyze, poke at stuff. And I, somewhere in the Navision system, which is the financial system, I found a group of costs basically in Shanghai called Project X, I think it was called, or Project something. So that was basically the first time I saw what would become Dust, basically. It was the code name for the project being developed in Shanghai. So very, very early. That's like 2007. Yeah, 2008 maybe.
Because I understand the thought process behind it was that CCP at the time wanted to kind of diversify their player base, right? They wanted to get kind of a console game because they thought that was the PS2 had obviously been very successful, and they thought at that stage it was kind of very separate PC versus kind of console gaming. So they kind of wanted to diversify it in that side.
Want to diversify our development as well, try other platforms, become a stronger company, become a global company. Creating this out of Shanghai was basically a big gamble as well. Build up a presence there, build up a studio. This is early in kind of globalization of gaming. This is pre all of the Tencent, NetEase acquisitions, etc. World of Warcraft was kind of the first, or Blizzard first to establish a presence in China around World of Warcraft. So this was basically us following kind of I would say, bold path. At the same time, we had the World of Darkness project in Atlanta. So, it was a company full of spirit, growth, kind of boldness. Not necessarily aware of all of the the threats and the things that would happen and we would learn from, but it was a real studio in Shanghai. It was not like there was a lot of investment. We pulled in a lot of both Western and Eastern talent, and it was a really high quality studio at the time. And contrary to, I think, what people think, Sony did not pay for the whole thing. Sony had a contribution to the project. A lot of contribution and a lot of support. I'll never say anything bad about Sony. They did everything they could for us.
Just about that, I think there's one point that often comes up, or conspiracy that comes up, is that people think that you cannot make a sequel or you cannot remaster Dust because of an agreement with Sony that would block it. You can't do a PC version because that's I would think, given the development for Legion, that's not the case, but
simplification of it is that it's not only Sony or not just or a Sony thing. It is basically the game is full of middleware, and all of that middleware is licensed for a title on a title basis, and that's just how the industry works. So we licensed all kinds of middleware that people know when you see that startup screen when games now come up. It's something audio kinetic. All of these little things are licensed software from other companies. So part of the license would be the Unreal license, the Unreal 3 license from Epic. So there are loads of things, and these would need to be renegotiated, all of them.
Well, I think though it's in terms of you've obviously got these kind of technical license side of things, but if you were to but the thing is as well, it's not kind of a legal stoppage of Sony. So if you, let's say you, for example, you made the exact same systems and game from scratch, using Unreal 5, Unreal 4.
It would remake the game in the image of Dust. I don't think any legality is in between.
Yeah.
So it's our IP, it's our game assets. We own everything about the game. So it's way more cost of figuring all of this out versus making the best game we can in the spirit of Dust.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, but, obviously the team's working well making Vanguard. I'm kind of looking forward to that. But I say it's just some of these things, like random points that come up in the community, like, we can't do this because of X.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Like, and sometimes you're like, these are like little hamsters you want to like knock down, just like stop promoting the thing. And I'd love to be able to have like a cookie cutter response to all of these. No, it's not Sony. It's a myth. It's probably more us, but it's a little bit complicated. That's the answer.
That's the thing. These things just get self-reinforced. So, like you say, someone mentions on Reddit, and then that becomes their reference. So they say later down the line. So, I appreciate the clarity of that. Yeah. So in terms of like your kind of, let's get into kind of the mechanics of Dust. I mean, in terms of like your kind of play style, like how did that kind of evolve over time? I know you were a Galente main, as it were. Like, did you with a Slayer that used the kind of commando suit, or did you kind of like skill into a lot of like Omni Soldier kind of stuff?
Oh, I had so many skill points, and I spent so much money, like personal money, on it. I had to learn. So in 2011-12, we have an alpha around Christmas time, I remember. And CCP had been so nice to give us at the time a PlayStation 3, everyone. I think kind of like in the spirit of trying this new game. So this Christmas, I can't remember, 2012, I think. I'm able to download the alpha build, the closed alpha build on my at home, and that's the first time I actually played it, and it's actually the first time I ever played a shooter with a controller. So there were I had to learn all of that just because like I wanted to play the game, but I had been a mouse keyboard like shooter player since Wolfenstein, like keyboard then, but then mouse immediately. So I was probably fresh off of Battlefield 42. I think that's like in memory, that's the game I was playing at the time. But I had been playing Battlefield 3. I've been playing Battlefield 3 as my favorite Battlefield game. So basically, I think around that time, I'm playing a lot of that. And this basically was a direct translation of the things that I liked about the game. It was the combined arms, pilots, tanks, being able to be a support that is able to blow up tanks, etc. So I think that if my memory serves, like this is kind of where my path lay. And then I'll exclusively played Dust for 5 years. I think I don't think I played another game.
I think it was
in play styles. I'm basically a kill junkie. Like I really don't care about KD. I just want to be in the thick of action and spawn and respawn. If I get killed by a tank, I'd spawn as an engineer to kill a tank to like take my vengeance. If I'm killed by a sniper, I would jump into a shotgun cloak kind of kit to just kill that guy and then back to the fight. Like I'm very revenge motivated in games.
I like it. Yeah, in the front of the action. I think that's one of the benefits of flexibility of Dust. It allowed you to kind of counter things in so many different ways. For example, like say with the kind of AV weapons you had, or even things like being able to change, so you're taking more of a stealth approach as well. So you're like kind of packing that side of things. So I think that's the kind of great aspect of this kind of diversity of play styles. I think. Anytime you ask anyone what they enjoyed about Dust or what made special to them, they kind of provide their own answer. So I'll put it to you. What was the thing you kind of the unique thing about Dust you feel that we've not seen since?
My absolute favorite. So I think there's just too many. So the thrill of, like, I'll name a few. The thrill of jumping out of the MCC, it just always comes back. as a thing.
Did you ever, you gotta press X in the last second, really gotta like, can you?
It's just like that's just a skill shot kind of thing. Like you have to, you can't just press it early. I think I liked all hacking objectives. Like I liked the actual like winning as a team more than like winning the leaderboard. So a lot of my favorite action was like a lot of frantic, just hack, rehack kind of objective gameplay. Dropping in as a heavy, like defending the point, like all that stuff is like I just don't remember another game that had this kind of like real close firefighting, like near objectives. It was just the time to kill was pretty high, so you basically had like you could come in and out of long engagements, which was kind of fun. Killing tanks with a plasma cannon is absolutely a favorite. There's a weak spot on the tanks if you could hit it, like this kind of trick shot. Those being on top of the building in one of the maps, like with a mass driver, like like there's just like an infinite like group of memories I think that I can bring up.
I think as well, just some of the kind of amazing sound design as well. And then in terms of I love the sound of the LAV exploding. You hit it with plasma cannon, just like that popping sound of like, that's like a pinata.
Yeah, the RDV like emerging above you, like you didn't realize, and you hear the sound and the decloaking, and you're like, I hope that's a friendly or like that kind of thing. So, sound design obviously super cool. I remember the soundtrack, the title soundtrack of Codex. I think we switched off the title music sometimes, and one of them I can't really actually find it anymore. Was this kind of remix of an EVE soundtrack, which I really liked. So like there are just like these nostalgic moments where you think like back to that thing, and even just like fitting. I think it was always fun to unlock like a brand new thing. You would be like, okay, I need to grind. You really had to. You felt the need to grind to unlock something. You really wanted to unlock a certain thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits. Like whenever you kind of log in, there was always some kind of, even if you'd like been away for a couple of weeks, the kind of like the passive SB you would have built up would mean that you've got something to look forward to when you go on as well. So I think that kind of those daily rewards also, like the game doesn't forget you if you've gone away for a bit. You can come back and
yes, absolutely.
And it's always that there was the combination of the fitting and the XP system where you're always just kind of chasing these like slight little gains, just a little bit more PG in order to fit like the next thing you want to. I think many people spent half as much time in the suit fitting as they did in match.
Yeah. You basically you knew that you'd get your perfect fit of like. In the end, I was in this optimization of I really wanted to have like the highest regen I could get. So it was all about being a Galente Commando and then having like armor reps, the top armor reps. So like all of my skill planning and upgrades was around like reducing PG CPU of like specific things to be able to like max out, I think 4 or 5 armor reps in low. So like that was my like what I wanted to be able to do, like a hit and run and come back and come back and come back.
Oh, nice. What did you have, like, say, did you kind of stick mainly to the Galente, or did you have, like, kind of the full range? You weren't, like, a lore specialist, like, I'm going to only use the Galente stuff?
It was more of a practical thing. Like, I just, like, didn't want to spend too many skill points into, like, the wrong branch. So I never used a lot of Kaldari stuff. I think my using the bolt pistol, like any charge up weapon with the controller, and my skills with the controller were kind of like it just like a step too far. I used to run Amar heavy a lot, for sure. So I would basically just pick the right class for the right thing. So like it was usually an Amar heavy for a specific thing. I like all of the fits set up like for named and fit. So like a cloaky camper killer, sniper killer, this thing, heavy objective, defender kind of thing, and different weapons on each of them. So like I'm just very pragmatic. So it was definitely not a lore thing. It was more the tool I wanted.
The thing is, a million different like little tips you could have as well. Like, for example, how I did my fitting was I kind of named them all and numbered them based on kind of like what style fit there or what the base was, because there was a tactic you could go to the supply depot and like quickly change. So if you put your
So you'd have to have like AAA in front so they would stack up. Yeah, exactly.
So that's your quick brick fit you want to change into. So it's always like on that vein as well. Like, so during the game, player antics, people had some kind of weird and wonderful tactics or kind of abusing of the mechanics. Like, for example, I remember because you'd get XP for being in a match, some people would like tape their controller, be AFK, and just to try and like kind of gain that little advantage, or when they couldn't actually play for real. So I was gonna say, do you have any stories about like any kind of weird and wonderful behavior you caught? What was the most like kind of marginal gains people are chasing for a lot of effort?
I would go out of my way to kill AFKers. So kind of do a sweep on an LAV, like into the deployment zone, and try to like kill people who are just standing there, just on principle. I used to do the same thing in Plant Site 2. You basically just take a vehicle and do the like a perimeter run and get behind all of the lying snipers at the back. So like I like that. I have a very strong anti-sniper tendency. They get pissed off easily by being sniped across the map. This is in every game, COD and Battlefield 2. So any specific thing?
Did you ever?
I never recorded anything, but like sometimes you would get this perfect ragdoll moment, which I remember distinctly as ragdolling someone just into the sun, which was I wish I had like a screen capture of that.
I was saying, we got some pretty impressive ones. Using the plasma cannon as well. That's always good territory for launching someone across the map.
Yes. No. The final days when I was running around just on the servers in my Galante suit with my like OP plasma cannon, that was fun for sure. Very casual. I jumped into squads with everyone under that name. I played like not under the dev name. I played under my account name, so
yeah,
no one knew.
Just secret character. Like, did you ever get involved in kind of planetary conquest? Were you in a corp? It was all kind of casual because you didn't want to.
Yeah, I played a few just to get a taste of it. It was definitely like it's like any other match. Like you felt like you could not like let your team down. You're like, so it was very scary at the time. But I did play like Guild. I played not competitively, but like I would play stuff like Battlefield and like in kind of like a competitive setting in Iceland back in the day.
Oh, nice.
So like I was used to that stuff.
Well, because you could actually hook up a mouse and keyboard to the PS3 for that Dust kind of. But from what I hear, it was quite kind of. It wasn't like a 1-to-1. It was like an emulated kind of input, which meant that it just didn't feel right. Did you ever get to experience it?
Oh, never tried.
Fair enough. Yeah, like I say, it wasn't a 1-to-1, so I think it's a bit of a challenge. Like obviously, to kind of balance it as well.
Yeah, I'm not too much of a tech guy to like figure stuff out. I'll let other people do that.
Fair enough. I mean, on the vein of like being able to control things, like, did you ever manage to learn to fly a dropship? Were you kind of any kind of assault dropships, or were you just like get on top of a roof kind of deal? Were you a mass driver?
Yeah, just like anything, I taxi myself to places where I need to kill someone. So like usually I would just suicide like a cheap dropship to like get to a place, to jump out of it and let it crash. I spent some time in tanks. Like I would always be able to jump into a tank to take something down. Like if my team was losing just because no one was picking up anti armor or something, I would jump into a tank every now and then just to like. But I'm not a good tank driver for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think even with the militia stuff, like it was a robust enough to kind of keep you alive. It's only if you kind of got focused down that you'd run into huge problems.
yeah, I just didn't want to like. Good enough was my like go-to. I needed to spend it on weapons and suits more.
But I think as well, like a good thing that Dust had was, you could bring in dropships, but that was like you out of your own money. You were paying for that. So you see people in Battlefield using a helicopter to just go on top of a tower, and obviously you think as a teammate, you're like, that's taking the mick,
Yeah. Like it's the old piece of shit. Just like jump into a plane, crash it, jump out, and just to win, like get to the objective first. Because you were using your own, it was definitely like I felt less guilty about it.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the kind of the great aspects. You did have this kind of gear economy. You did have this kind of cost per def. I mean, I remember hearing in kind of for Legion, were you kind of potentially thinking of adjusting that? Did you find that players were kind of too risk averse with that scenario, or was it kind of more set to pub matches?
So what we wanted to do was to figure out a way to have you benefit from killing something expensive, so that like you would be incentivized to like you would, as a new player, at least if you were killed by a veteran and like wearing a lot of like expensive stuff, that you would get like an extra satisfaction of killing those. So you'd get like a piece of bounty or something on top of if you got a really expensive kill. But we had all kinds of ideas about cost matching and tried to fix it. There are some designs that I think Pokey collected for Nova, which were more about kind of more insurance levels, so that you'd be able to tune basically your deployment to like a certain threshold, but not like lose everything all the time. But it is kind of, it seems it's a little bit like a pre-extraction shooter in some way. Like there's a lot of like risk in bringing something expensive down, which is probably the first game to ever do that, was to like have a penalty on death in a shooter.
Yeah, I mean, it's an aspect I really, really enjoyed. I think the thing as well, like with the kind of the value of the high value kill, that did actually feature that to a certain extent, because I know when I was playing matches at the end of the session, or the end of the lifestyle, everyone was burning through their officer gear. Everything was like burning their really expensive matches, and that basically goes into the payout pool at the end. That's the kind of so that's what. So I think. You can get £1 million in just a pub match, or $1 million ISK in a pub match kind of thing. So I think there's the challenge. That Dust did feature some of these aspects, but it's kind of like that it was difficult to present to players, certainly like new players as well, to kind of understand all these kind of like hidden mechanics. I think is that
yes, and it's such a new thing. We didn't have any lossless like first battles or anything like or PvE to practice or anything else. So I think that we needed a better on-ramp into all of that complexity, which is something that like we think we can do with Vanguard, is to have like a more of a PvE heavier training ground before you hit the PvP, like true PvP. There were like a million things. There are also like we were trying to think of ways to use cost of suit into like the matchmaking algorithm. So you'd be able to like kind of pit the best against the best, say a little bit of like a skill-based matchmaking, but like ISK-based matchmaking, but like stuff like this. In the end, we did a lot of changes in the end. Let people loot other people's officer gear, like more, like increase the pool and add to the payout. We added even like all kinds of random items into the pool, so people had a chance of getting something which was not in the original design. It was just stuff that other people had lost. So we filled the pool with random NPC stuff as well. So there's a lot of like experiments at the end that are very fun.
How was it in terms of? I think Dust was. I'd say it's one of kind of the first like kind of live service games in terms of, certainly for consoles as well. Like, how was the kind of update process with Sony in terms of like I hear talk of like it was like $10,000 per update you needed to push out, and therefore it kind of meant that things it need to be like serious updates that you push through. It's kind of less easy to update than a PC, shall we say?
That may be a misunderstanding. So there is it's called FQA. It's a full quality assurance that you just have to go through with Sony. All the fees were waived for us, like as part of the contract. So there's no cost associated, but there's just like a lot of effort. And since we were also in 4 Sony regions and they're all different, like you have to actually figure out and negotiate with each of the regions. I think there's a special Japanese, then there's Asia, and then there's the West and and Europe, or America and Europe. So it was just like a process to do stuff. So we tried to we couldn't just patch on the fly, because if we would change the client in the way that the client needed to be re-downloaded, that triggered an FQA. If we could get away with patching only things on the back end, we could do that. So a lot of our development, like at the very end, was trying to be kind of precise in what we were changing and actually figure out innovative ways to change things in the client without changing the client. So that's where the actual skins came from. I actually managed myself to hack the skins through the editor and figure out a way, like for programmers to eventually solve it, but to make skins on the server itself, not the client. So that was a way for us to be able to do skins, for example. It was just like, that was a hack to get like away from deploying the skins as kind of, we call them instant, like they're called instant mesh instances, I think, skins in Unreal 3. So you would usually have to distribute them with the client. So you'd update the client and you'll send these 5 new skins or whatever. But we basically created a skin template that you would just apply to the suit, and then you change the colors on the server. So it was all just doing RGB 255 373. That's basically green and yellow and whatever. So that's basically how there's a lot of like experimental fun stuff to do, and especially when you had like a tiny team like I had at the time, because most of them were on Legion at the time.
Yeah.
So most of the time I worked on Dust was with a small than 10, I think we were in total.
Okay. I think that's a good kind of segue into like FanFest 2014 and the kind of announcement of Legion. I mean, you, from what I understand, you took charge of Dust EVE Vanguard kind of following that, the kind of releasing, kind of go through the kind of hot fixes. How much were you involved kind of behind the scenes in the run up to kind of FanFest 2014 and the kind of the Legion announcement?
I really wasn't. I was in finance at the time, or FP&A. So I was mostly just working on the business model, trying to understand what would be different with Legion, trying to apply any like live service knowledge. But at this time, I asked to be involved in running Dust 5.4 to be able to then help Legion change their designs based on like experimentation on the Dust server.
Yeah, because I mean that's how I kind of took your taking over of Dust, that you were looking to kind of like solve.
Yeah, I was kind of like sunsetting it wisely, I would say, was the original plan. But then the other whole thing happened, and then we just kept going.
Oh, fair enough. Are you aware, like, so in terms of like the kind of scrapping of Legion, was that kind of a swift decision based on a reaction, or was it kind of a technical consideration? Was it not, obviously a kind of the Frankenstein code of Dust, Unreal custom 3.xx whatever. Was it kind of a swift decision, or was it kind of technical hurdles that kind of killed it off?
I'll be honest. I just don't remember anymore. Like, we were struggling with, I remember being bold and just going straight to Unreal 4 versus quicker go-to-market with Unreal 3 and staying on like just a PC port. The PC port was very non-performant. because of like the legacy code and all that. The Unreal 4 port seemed almost like unachievable in the time frame. So there were hybrid scenarios of having a port live while there's an Unreal 4 like report almost for port from U3 to 4. Could we outsource that to a special company? Business model wise, will we be able to get the traction we needed to get the player base we needed? Did we have to change the business model? I just honestly don't remember the final moments of it, but like it just became unviable in some way. Maybe the size of the team or the total cost, but it basically the end result was that we decided to invest in Unreal 4 for sure, because half of the team, or a big part of the team, went into, at the time there was this VR kind of uprising in the world. So a big part of the team actually went into VR, and they did EVE Gunjack and Gunjack 2. And this was basically like a strategic pivot into, okay, at least we'll learn something about Unreal 4. Maybe we'll come back to a Dust version on Unreal 4, but like this is less investment. It was co-sponsored by Samsung because we're on the Samsung VR. And generally, that was a great project from end to end. Like we learned a lot, we shipped, we sold like loads of units. Samsung was happy. VR didn't blast off with Valkyrie, and the world didn't really wasn't ready for it. But that was basically the pivot that happened at the end. So we had this kind of Dust lane, and then the VR UE4 lane.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like I say, the team did make learning Unreal 4 makes a lot of sense. Like, kind of it's as well with the Valkyrie. I think, unfortunately, with VR not taking off, I think it's been too much of kind of an isolation booth when you are gaming. So I think, unfortunately, just kind of it is still niche, as it were.
Yeah. Yes. But super impressive. If you don't check out VR regularly, like it's crazy how much it evolves every time, every new set. So I usually buy the latest set, and then I try a game, and then I forget to recharge the thing, and I forget to update, and I have all these cords, and then I give up. But like I'm genuinely enthusiastic about like a very realistic or like very immersive FPS somehow. Like I dream of having like this, this treadmill thing at home. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool. Well, have you seen Macintosh's VR world? He's recreated the Dust Warbarge and Mercenary Quarters.
I've seen it on some Discord, but I've not tried it.
I would recommend it because I think the link will be in the kind of the Vanguard Discord as well.
Yeah.
I'll put it in chat as well. But yeah, it's cool. Like exploring these environments you've obviously played like long ago, and it just having that like say immersive experience where you can like just walk around it and see all the surfaces and see the table as well with the Warbarge.
Yeah. Like I remember it all, like the Mercenary Quarter and the pre-deployment screen and all that. Yeah, and the. What was the announcements? Suicides are
not allowed in public areas, I think.
Yeah, not allowed.
Monorail is still out of order or something. I can't remember.
All this stuff.
Well, I think going back to that as well. I think the Warbarge as well was kind of a great introduction, a great kind of like pre-deployment screen, as it were. So I think this ran into technical problems in the end, but. Certainly when I was first playing, you'd load into the Warbarge, and that's when you could kind of dynamically squad up. You'd see you'd check out who's on your team. You'd be able to kind of like join a squad or obviously set one up yourself. I think aspects like that really kind of helped push the social side of Dust, where you don't want to. Some of the challenges of like if you have kind of team-wide comms, is you get like kind of people yelling, but this kind of like squad-based dynamic on the fly meant that you could kind of squad up, chat, or like. Much more kind of discretion over who you're in the squad with.
So, Dust in so many ways was incredibly ahead of its time. Like this is not like, the Fortnite bus and all this. Like this, it's a precursor again for a lot of this, like pre-social, not necessarily for squad making, just like to see other people. What are they wearing? What are they doing, etc. Instead of just sitting in a waiting for match circle. It's super ambitious, and I think this is what people like talk when they talk about social spaces, is to be able to just, is there any reason for us to be together somewhere? Like, is there a gameplay reason? Is there like, and I think this is it's just a very unique value proposition to be able to do this, and also super cool when it was like in the end when we allowed like bigger squads and like full team squads for PC matches and for faction warfare matches. Like that was also like, okay, we're now all on the same team. We can chat. We're in the same team chat, etc. So like it's just, yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and it just felt like you were there. And now Helldivers is doing the same thing, like 15 years later or whatever, like 10 years later, maybe not 15. But like you're walking around in Warbarge, looking down on the planet. Like this is all stuff that we've seen.
Was it like when first loading in with any kind of names, or when you saw on the leaderboards, or when you're in the Warbarge, you saw some names, player names? You're like, I need to bring my A game now. This person's gonna.
Yeah. So Calente was there. Like when you saw some of these names, you'd be like Kubo or Calente or like sometimes you'd laugh. Like I cannot not laugh when I think of Lieutenant Dan's legs was a player that I just could not, like I just couldn't get over it. But yeah, you'd have your mortal enemies, and you'd start like checking out who's on the roster, who do you need to keep an eye out for sure. Like, and kind of like legends of the game, like people you knew were crazy. Speaker, for example, you'd be like, if Speaker's on the other side, you're like, okay, I'm going to be anti-armor like the whole time. It's just kind of like, I'm just going to fight him. That's all I'm going to do.
I think it's the same way with Duna. The guy who's very concerned with his case.
Yeah, Duna too. Yeah, actually.
He's either sniping or in his tank, and it's like, then after the match, invite you to join his corp.
Exactly. Like these legends of the game, like that's EVE is a lot about this. Like to make heroes and legends because it's the same community. It's not it's not multiple servers. It's a single universe. Means you'll be able to see famous people in some way, or notorious.
Well, I think the social tools borrowed from EVE that put into Dust like very much helped that. Having the kind of the custom chat channel set up, which again very unique for like PS3 at the time, meant that kind of players had the tools to self-organize. You could set up chat channels for like certain factors. Like for example, if you're kind of looking for faction warfare, you want to kind of queue sync for that, or got like various friends group. It wasn't just you are in your corp, you're on your guild, and that's the only people you'll talk to kind of scenario.
Again, way beyond what people were doing. Everyone was running. What was the chat of the time? People were running laptops on the side, running. I can't remember the names of the voice chats at the time, but people would do that. Same with every other game, like Battlefield 42. Like everywhere you need a squad, and the game didn't support it, you'd have to go outside of the client. So this was unique. It was not without cost. Like it, we had a. I think it used to be called Trans Gaming. I think it then turned into Vivox. But we had to have a partner do a lot of have an SDK or an API to connect to. We had the same at the same time with voice chat in EVE as well, and then we pulled out of that. We ripped that out. I think we're not going to do this. The world has evolved so much that like everyone's just on Discord or something else. So but I would love to be able to provide some kind of link in between. Say like, okay, if you press this link, you go to that external like Discord channel or something, or maybe like a deeper integration with some company. But it's yeah, the world has changed so much that I would not like build all of this integration into the game. I would try to support like a wider ecosystem of pre-made solutions. But yeah, I think it's important. But we in Vanguard we do have voice over IP, and we have basically built-in squad chat and obviously prox chat as well. So like these are now things that you can just plug in. It's not like we don't have to code this ourselves.
Like I said, the world in voice is kind of very different. Like, you know, everyone's on Discord these days. It's, you know, integrated into kind of like the PlayStation kind of ecosystem, as it were. So it makes sense that people will use these tools rather than, like, say, the kind of laptop to the side kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But you would chat shit on the laptop too, though. Like, just be like.
So in terms
Can't
of like
type on the controller very quickly. Not if you want to have like a quick response. Like, you can't.
Oh, that's the challenge I faced, because I use a lot of dropships and tanks in Dust, but because I'm mouse and keyboard on Battlefield, I cannot do it. Like, I need to get a controller just for that when I go on a helicopter, I think.
I remember having a fierce fight or like PlayStation in Dark Souls. Just through like the email chat on the PlayStation Network chat. Like I had beef with a dude in Dark Souls, like invading me, and so like those things were happening too back then, just like a little bit more rigid.
So in terms of like just kind of talking about when you took over looking after Dust 1.4, kind of like your kind of main priorities. So you did like hotfix alpha through, I think, Echo, to kind of like these kind of iterative changes. Like, how did you feel? Kind of how did you get the community on board with those as well after the kind of Legion announcement?
So as a player, I knew that there was loads of things that needed to get fixed. And as a dev, I was able to just get some of those fixed from a player perspective. Because I didn't inherit a lot of balancing principles, or I had to reverse engineer some of it, because at some point, like, not everyone stayed that had been on Dust or had moved on. So I had to create kind of design frameworks for some of these, like weapon frameworks, range over DPS, like figure out what was the kind of cost of the inconvenience of the charge in the charge weapons. What's the benefit of the area of effect of like the mass driver and the plasma cannon? Like, what are the trade-offs here? So I had to kind of rebuild some of these frameworks, and I just did it heuristically, and I just shared a lot on the forums. I spent far too much time on the forums, and I also had a Trello board where I collected feedback, and I also had open Google Sheets, which I don't think any game developer has ever done, like at that time, where I just allowed people to kind of edit and add formulas into stuff where they were like ideas for formulas, etc. So, or correct my like damage DPS numbers or something. So I was just very open about it, and kind of tried to rationalize and explain my reasoning on the forums, and it just took time, I think, but it was easier to show people rather than like have the numbers, like what the goal was. And to me, like the goal was just diversity in fittings in general. So I just I shared pictures of the usage, like after every hotfix. So like in the first hotfix, we knew that the scrambler rifle was dominant. It was by far the best weapon. It had no weaknesses, highest DPS, etc. So basically, I just said, like, okay, these families should be more or less like 25%. So the scrambler rifle family or the laser rifle family needs to be like this. So I just buffed the rest to see if we could get adoption, like based on these frameworks. And then we just iterated until like at the end we had like a pretty nice kind of distribution of all of the styles of the burst rifle, of the scramble rifle, of the laser rifle. So just like that meant that they were at least equally like interesting. They were viable choices. So that was my main goal with all of it, modules and weapons, etc.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well, because I think a lot of people say that, you know, obviously the game was balance was a much healthier place kind of towards the end and when you took over. I think as well, Dust with its kind of diversity of different fits and the kind of a changing meta meant that, you know, you could have situations where things seem overpowered as well, where it's a case of like, because it's a hard counter to kind of the most popular, so, you know, everyone runs Scout and everyone runs like then mass drivers to counter that, and it kind of like this kind of continual evolution of what the kind of like the tactics were. I think that kind of added to the longevity as well, where matches would feel different because you'd be like countering a different kind of suit, you'd be wearing a different suit yourself, side things.
It was an infinite counter play game. Like you'd be like, oh, who's running that? So like I'll do this and I'll do this, and then I'll adjust on the fly this stuff. A big part of probably 1.3 or 1.4 was trying to get scan and precision and all that into a better place. So, because that was very binary, like you'd either be seen or not be seen. So I was trying to create like an area of gray between, and an understanding, a joint understanding of when you would be scanned and when we would be seen, like in the overlaps, who would win. I spent a lot of time in the scout group. There's like a whole group of expert scouts, melee, like Nova Blade cloakers. I can't remember what they were called, something Killer Hunter or something, Assassin Club or whatever. And just trying to poke their brains on like what is the way to like counter this by having like logical rules. We had even better designs planned for Nova, like in this, like to have like more soft precision. So like it wasn't just like I see you, I don't see you, based on ranges and actions. So you'd basically, if you'd crouch, you'd lower your profile. If you'd like run, you'd increase your profile. That kind of stuff. So that was a very fun challenge. In the end, I think we had a really good balance. Also, there was no like best scout because of this precision gameplay or something else. And then the active scanner, because that would kind of trump everything, because that was like a whole specialist function to just figure out stuff. But like in the end, some people were, I think we called them ballerinas, people who would just like spin the whole time and scan.
Yeah, your Galente logistics with 4 different scanners. So, you know, you'd like scan and then like and the cooldown, and then you get your next one equipped and you do the same, and you just, that's someone's entire planetary conquest.
Like are on the radio and in real in the real military, they're just like run around with a backpack and a radio. So like you can't all be killing.
Because I think as well, like towards the end, there was talk of so Dust struck a problem where it's kind of reaching the PS3's memories in terms of the things you can equip, and there was a talk of replacing different types of suits with kind of more of a power core to kind of like so have that kind of standardization. I think that kind of ran into the kind of decision to close down Dust. Like I was going to talk about that in terms of what was the reasoning. Is a case of cost to keep going was too great, or was it that things were progressing with Project Nova, and that's when the kind of the thought would be a handover?
So I think there was a change. So the PS3, the PS4 came in, and I think the adoption of the PS4 was wildly successful and way quicker than we expected. So we just were looking at a market that like almost died overnight. Like the PS4 just dominated so quickly. Like we had like a window of like, in 2 years we'll sunset the PS3. And it was more like, no, in 6 months, like no one's gonna be playing on the PS3. Like it just like it happened insanely fast. And I don't remember, but I think they had like back support for some of the titles, etc. So like there's just like no reason to run a PS3 for loads of people. So I think that made it happen faster and quicker. We had basically just we were doing tech demos, because now we had like on the side we had started to see like, okay, the PS3 is dying. It's definitely going to die. So we have to figure out like what's the next platform move, and that next platform had to be on Unreal 4, and at least also on PC or exclusively on PC, but probably PC, PS4 or something. Like, so we were already starting to play UE4 kind of very simple matches using just baseline assets on UE4 builds. So we were like, okay, then let's just figure that out as quickly as possible. And I think we have a FanFest demo in 2015, a year later, which is not done by a big team, a small team, more like a tech demo or a prototype to see if it had wings. It did. It was a fun lobby shooter for sure, and I think it worked to do everything we wanted to do. But then basically, we just go into a conversation about the product, and this is just, this is what happens at companies. Is it viable to do exactly the same game? Should we add more to it? Should we add different modes? Like, what's the USP? Like, how many weapons? Like, you just go into this kind of product marketing business case cycle, and it was felt like the result was that it was not enough to just do Dust again. It had to be something else, because Dust hadn't been like a raging success. It had been profitable at the very end of its lifetime, but not like no return on investment, like not a full return on investment. So it was more like, okay, why would we do Dust again if it wasn't a crazy success? And we didn't really have a lot of answers to that. So we started exploring, poking at PvE, adding PvE into the game, adding some game modes, and we end up with this. We took what we learned from the hardcore PvP that we showed at FanFest and said, okay, let's add a PvE mode, kind of Left 4 Dead, kind of Gears of War, kind of, okay, that's more casual, but then you'll migrate into PvP. And that the PvP would be more similar to Dust over time. But we can't make two games at the same time. Like, we can't make Dust and another game. So we said, like, okay, we kind of know how to make the PvP Dust game. We don't know how to do PvE or anything like that. So we partner up with Sumo, and we go into this investment with Nova, and we do a pretty good PvE game that no one ever got to play, because it just didn't. In the end, we didn't see that it had a path to market at the time either, because it didn't have some of the systems that people expected, like progression or PvP. Or so we added a PvP mode that would be basically a supplementary mode to the PvP. So you'd have a PvP progression. We had a really fun PvP game mode based on like Team Fortress, kind of push the cart kind of thing. It was actually very fun, and we had a lot of fun playing it. But it didn't look like it had mass market appeal at the time. So we put it on the back burner, or we basically paused that part of my life in that sense. The project moved to London. Where basically it was reset into like, let's find a path, like let's go back to basics. Is there a shooter game in the New Eden universe that just makes sense. What is that game? Is it a third-person game? Is it an adventure game? Is it a survival crafting game? Who knows? So that team just had time to try to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that's how it's all gone down. I mean, in terms of, I never got to play the FanFest 15 or the Vegas build of Nova, so it's a shame. Because I think had you been able to kind of CCP quickly been able to push out a something playable that would have that continuation of player base, I think you'd have a lot of kind of returning players in terms of people who PC players and stuff like that who would have joined in. Because I think you look at what's available now in terms of stuff like Warframe and stuff like PlanetSide 2, they're still playable. They still have an audience for them. It's just a shame that there wasn't able to have that quick continuity of something that could replace Dust, something of the same kind of vein.
I don't disagree. It's very easy to have 2020 hindsight, but the world was changing. You just make the decisions you make, and you have to deal with it. I do believe that a pure port was not really possible. You had to re-implement it into another engine, and pick really the battles where you were. Are you going to have integrated chat? Are you going to have this? Are you going to have this? And go through and really find the essence. Is it the vehicular combat with the outposts and all that? And is that enough? Plus the progression systems, etc. So it really is hard to. I don't see that there was a path to just make it exactly like Dust and playable and still market viable. It just, there are too many enemies in the way, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Because obviously, because you do have
it sounds easy, but it just wasn't that easy.
Yeah. Well, I think looking at the stats, kind of the player count of Dust as time goes by, I think obviously kind of PS4 launching had a big impact. But I think it's kind of when I look at the timeline, I see it's the Destiny release where the trend really starts to go down. Was that kind of seen as CCP as kind of the biggest rival of Dust, or the biggest kind of draw away from Dust at the time?
When you say it, maybe. I wouldn't have remembered Destiny at the time for that.
Because I think, part of the CCP London's first iteration, from what I understand, was kind of a Destiny-like that they were creating. So I wondered whether that was based on that as well.
Probably a little bit more adventure, sure. More of an RPG adventure. There's a lot of talk about. Yeah, more of an appealing visual style, a more vibrant, more happier, cleaner, less dark and gloomy, I think.
I need the Rattati suit. The officer drops the bright green.
Yeah. Just everywhere. I think they explored a lot social spaces. It was all planets, but I don't know that they ever found something that just nailed it for what they were trying to make, and whether that there was an appetite for that in the market. It's not similar to anything that I remember coming out. It's not No Man's Sky. That's not similar at all. Destiny, way more RPG, I would say, or kind of raid style gameplay. So I don't know where they were actually, what the two games were they were making, X meets X. I don't remember actually what that was for them.
Because I think the challenge with Dust was that it was kind of released. Well, it was developed too late to hit the PS3 or to hit the prime of the PS3, and it was developed too early to hit the launch of PS4. So it was really kind of just, I think, bad luck in the timing, really.
Yeah, it came out in a strange time. I think World of Tanks was also finding its feet as a free-to-play game on the PS at the same time. But vehicular combat is easier on the controller, I think. And they obviously had like the marketing machine of wargaming and all that, but they were the kind of the main competitor at the time, like in trying to get like a military-minded person to play a free-to-play game. So they were free-to-play also, and they had way more experience in free-to-play coming from the PC and like having developed all the systems, like all the crew, like all the smart little mobile like upgrade things, like the crew and like obviously the ammo, etc. But and they also had like a content mill, an infinite factory of like making new tanks, new content, etc. So they had definitely a first mover's advantage to us.
So in terms of like when you took the reins, when you took over, there was kind of a push for the kind of Warlords update, and you've got the kind of more, I wouldn't say aggressive monetization, but like, you know, like it's where the focus is a lot more of like, well, actually, you know, we need to keep the lights on here. It can't just be like Aurum items, as it were. So that's when you kind of had the 2D Warbarge and the BPOs and Apex suits. Like, I mean, like how successful was that in terms of kind of like that was kind of a good like revenue? Because I'm not sure if you can talk about whether, you know, whilst player counts didn't decrease as part of the FanFest Legion announcement, you know, famously, like some people were kind of like biomassing their characters. So was it a case of revenue did drop after that announcement and Warlords kind of brought it back?
There's steady growth in revenue after I took over. It like even if it was experimentational because we knew we were end of lifing and we really had like hardcore veterans who were like bought in. So, and we were also just copying some aspects of other games to try to see what worked, because that was the intent, was to learn from the end of the game, not like make bank. We didn't make bank. We just we increased our revenue substantially, but we never hit any never hit any mobile like monetization like at any given time. The retention of the game was really hard, like low, like just new players. We had a steady flow of new players coming in because like hey, it's free, like, and we had like promotions from Sony. So it's similar to EVE. It's a hardcore group of people who want to continue playing their game, and they're happy to support us playing the game. So if they see value in the stuff and they see value in the game and they keep buying it, that's basically like this kind of happy agreement that we have with the EVE player base and the Dust fan base at the same time. At that time, saying like, hey, we didn't have any crowdfunding at that time either, so it's kind of like, I think of it more like the hardcore player were sustaining the dev team at that time. It was not like, yeah, we weren't raking in the box, I would say.
Yeah, well, I think as well that I think most people would agree that Dust struck a good balance. There was never any kind of like pay to win. There was never any kind of like you know, whilst you could get you could pay for gear that allowed you to unlock it like early. That's like just something you could earn in game anyway. It's never like kind of crossed that line.
Almost the only time was the main thing that we always try to focus on. It's either a shortcut to a time or a shortcut to a fixed power level. The Apex suits were that. Like, you couldn't change them, you can grow them, but they were like a good quality X thing, which you could like replicate with any other module, like, and you could be better. So it was more like a solid baseline rather than just a free militia suit. So I think I don't regret a single monetization aspect of Dust, and we've seen way worse since then in the in the gaming cycle. I I think the 2D Warbarge was a very interesting, fun way, like more like very mobile, like influence at the time, to just like have these incremental, tiny bonuses to make you like maybe there's a payoff like here and there, but like an ultra power curve, like with diminishing returns. So like I don't feel that was anything like really bad. And everything, it's basically accessible to everyone, because we also added this way to get, like, now I'm trying to remember this. So you get these Warbarge components and you would be able to loot them. So there was a free to play aspect to it as well. You could grind it enough to get them. So like I'm very at ease with what we did there.
I think as well, the introduction of the Apex suits was really well received in terms of really useful for new players, because it had that kind of pre-fit component. You know, it had like, cause I think when you're first learning the game, you're not going to know what everything does. So I think having that rather than kind of an empty starter suit definitely kind of helped, I think, new players learn. I remember there was a thread, someone put a forum thread that they'd been playing for a year and they'd only then just realised you could edit suits. So it's like...
Yeah. It didn't have a lot of NP, like not a lot of onboarding journey. I think there was one thing, I can't remember if it's 1.3 or 4. The team helped me make like an unlockable like skill tree of suits, pre-fitted suits, if you remember. So basically I just created a pre-fit of like a Minmatar, like logistics with only base gear and then advanced gear and then pro gear, and like these were like, there's a tree, basically like a tech tree that you could like go through and just train this and train this and train this, which I felt was like a way to unlock this mindset of like you're always trying to unlock a group of things together. Like it's not just the suit, it's also that the all of the modules together make a stronger cohesion. I don't even remember if I have a screenshot of this, but like, it was one of the things we were trying like to figure out how do we get like new players to stick around for longer.
Yeah, I think that is the challenge of onboarding, in terms of like when you are like, Dust was not a game with complexity for complexity's sake. It had depth and it had you allowed to kind of like a lot of options, but they weren't presented front and center, like for example like weapon ranges and stuff like that. All these kind of little details were not included, so I think it was a challenging game for new players to take on. But again, like looking at the player counts, you have a very kind of consistent in terms of you had a good average concurrent that kept coming back, basically a dedicated player base to it. Yeah, so in terms of did you ever manage to drop an orbital bombardment or anything like that from the EVE side?
No, I never bothered. That's why I made the mini OBs. I felt it was like unfair to never be able to like get that like feeling of having an OB. So we made these mini OBs, which I think were amazing. Like I think it was super fun to be able to like to basically caught kill streaks, but like it felt more fun than that even. Like
I like even the orbitals in general, like when you're playing like a domination and you've got the Galente lag facility and everyone's around that one point, and then you hear that familiar sound, it just rains down.
Get all these kills. It's a very satisfying thing. Very satisfying.
Well, I was going to say that, like, in terms of, do you feel like we kind of suffered from a little bit of, I don't want to say lack of ambition, when it's obviously a very ambitious link, but being kind of constrained to just within Malden Heath, I mean, it was kind of difficult for a lot of you players to kind of engage, or, you know, if it's not on their local. Do you think opening it up to wider New Eden would have helped?
I don't know. I think there's a missing, like the incentive was missing for. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do once. How do you promote something that like becomes like a daily routine, or like a reason to really collaborate to get these kind of moments of real victory in some way. So yeah, it felt like Dust players were able to like get EVE players to help them in a match. Like at the high stakes matches. But I don't think the EVE players ever felt like they got anything from it really. So I think creating a mutual kind of incentive program would be important rather than like for adoption. Specifically on the Molten Heath stuff, like I don't know. I don't think that was the issue, at least.
Because I think, because I used to do factional warfare ones, dropping from EVE, like trying to link it to the kind of the racing across space to get to the planet to then drop it down was the challenge. I mean, you get good LP payouts, but it was always a bit of a challenge in the logistics to kind of support.
Yeah, I think it might work better now, like with these faction warfare battlegrounds and all that stuff. Like, faction warfare is way more vibrant now, way more played. It's something we invested a lot in on the EVE side, so that's where all and any Vanguard links will be in faction warfare and low-sec, for sure.
Sounds good. Do you think we'll ever see the return to orbital bombardments or something similar?
I think we'll see an OB for sure. I think that's just one of the weapons like the war clones have, is to be able to get that kind of support. MCC bombardment versus Warbarge, like all that stuff, I think it's a power scale more than anything else. But yes, we are actively pursuing a meaningful link through faction warfare between Vanguard and EVE, for sure. The EVE convoys, the Nemesis event was one of those, is to try, okay, what is that mutual incentive? Like, how can we help each other get like a certain goal or certain like special rewards or whatever? So we've been investing a lot of time into figuring that out. And if you haven't seen the director's letter from January, I recommend it. We talk about military campaigns, the future of like a multi-year or at least a multi-expansion plan on the EVE side, with the ultimate goal to integrate basically into like the Vanguard activities into these campaigns. So if the EVE players see the Vanguard players as useful allies in completing these military campaigns early, or that's what we want. We want this kind of call to arms, social mobilization that EVE players and Vanguard players seek each other out on Discord and say like, hey, let's win this Galente campaign together, or let's go for this Amar thing or whatever. Because whatever it's lore reasons or role playing or just plain old competitive spirit, like I would love to see the kind of the young pukes and all of these kind of faction warfare kind of leaders actually look at the Vanguard players as a companion or an ally in this fight.
That sounds good, because I mean, obviously we've had the kind of the Vanguard playtests before. We've had those kind of affecting even sort of things, but I feel like that's much more of a kind of a proof of concept, like kind of technical tests to make sure the kind of like behind the scenes stuff all works together. So like, yeah, I'm looking forward to the kind of more integrated, more kind of like, I'd say narrative focused, but you know, like where there's kind of more meaningful connections between the two, where you have much more kind of an agency over what's happening. So, for example, because the latest one was the kind of the convoy situation where you're completing contracts that kind of spawns convoys, but there was kind of a disconnect in terms of like you had no influence on where those convoys were spawning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a step. So, we learn a thing from every event. This one was basically like the first time. So it's also it's not just technical. It's like, can we send the message and they receive it and everything works and the UI and all that, like just like that works. But then it's just the economic risk as well, or the perception risk or whatever. So we are just treading lightly on this. We could have done bolder things on just like, you know, carving things out or spawning them here, but we are just being careful on where and how. In theory, it could have been very easy to have like Expedition 1, 2, 3, 4 and each of them generate a convoy in the faction warfare quadrants or whatever, so that you would be able to target like an area if you wanted to just do those expeditions, for example. So we have loads of like little ideas on how to influence where things happen on the other side, or where things don't happen. That's also like a thing. You could suppress something happening. So there's like, I think the sky's the limit here. It's just to figure out like what is an interesting evergreen link, something that you can just turn on that incentivizes both people. Like on the Vanguard side, you can just be motivated by doing it without knowing what EVE is at all. It's just like a special expedition or something that gives you standings or LP or whatever. So you have your own motivation to do that. And then you have your social. Maybe someone just asks you to do it. They show up on Discord and say like, hey, I'm looking for 10 Vanguard to do this objective today. And like, I have nothing better to do. And who the hell are you? And then you're like, you understand that they're an EVE player. This happens all the time in Dust. You'd be like in comms, and then someone says like, is anyone doing this thing today? And you're like, okay, where are you? Like, I'm an EVE player. And then eyes would open. You're like, you're talking to me from another game, and we're trying to do this. I think that's compelling on its own. But then also, like, when you get into this, then the actual the win condition of the campaign may start to matter. Like, you just want to win that because that's your impact. And I think that's the ultimate goal for these the symbiosis of these two games is to drive people to do something that's actually changes something, is impactful, is meaningful, more than just complete lobbies and top leaderboards. Like it's not for EVE players or Dust players. It's for any FPS player who wants to do something more than a lobby, more than just loot and a reset.
Yeah, because I think that's the kind of the great appeal, being able to like kind of lean into the I would say the permanence, but like, like kind of the long term setting of doing.
Yeah.
And because the challenge I find with Battlefield, enjoy it, playing Battlefield 6, but there'll be a time when I kind of like play it for the last time because I've done the same experience so many different times. But like it being an evolving universe in EVE and Vanguard means that hopefully you'll have that kind of longevity in terms of enjoy it for years.
Yes, exactly. I do the same. Like I love my Battlefield. I've played more hours in Battlefield than any other game, but I sometimes wish, why don't I have a world map or something where the stuff I do matters to something, like in any context. Just if it's a season that like it's Axis against allies, or like some kind of impact would be fun, not just completing a season pass.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking of the director's note. You mentioned about combined arms. So I think that kind of relates to the integration of like EVE and Vanguard, right? In terms of like, I think Speaker has put you off too much of tanks.
The boots on the ground and the pilots in the sky or space. Yeah, that's the combined arms. I noticed that. No, it's not about tanks. Not yet.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I think what I find interesting is like people's various different kind of like red lines. Like people who have played Dust before, and what's the thing that Vanguard needs to have, and for all of them to keep playing. Like a kind of a futuristic setting, combined arms. All these are kind of other side of things as well. So yeah, it's been interesting to see who plays Vanguard.
I think we're not doing 16v16 like vehicular combat. Like it just like that is a bigger team than we have, and it's a part of the vision to be able to maybe do that as a long-term game where we build into different modes, etc. But that is in no way a sustainable like plan for a smaller team than like the big AAA guys, to be able to build multiple weapons, multiple tanks, we have to be much craftier much kind of smaller in scale, smaller in scope, smarter in scope. Try to figure things like what can work. What is the seed that allows us to grow? Like, and that I think can be done in a very compelling extraction adventure shooter, where there is a bigger impact between. Like, it's not a reset, but you are going through a very similar loop as Dust. Like, obviously, you go down, you do objectives, and you leave with loot. Maybe you don't even have to leave with loot. You just do the objectives, and the objectives and the expeditions were sometimes the thing that you just needed to do. You just needed basically just quests. So I think this extraction adventure tag is meant to. It's more than just extraction with loot. Like, it's do quests, do stuff on the ground, do more narrative stuff, more PvE, more like less than PvP. It's not sweaty PvP, hardcore loot extraction. I think there are games that will do that better than we do. I think Marathon is leading into that. I think Tarkov has always been that very campy, very excruciating kind of loss penalty thing. That's not the game that we want to make. We want to make like a dark and gritty and like a moody and a full of experience being on the surface, but more adventurous, more exploration, more like EVE. Like, you venture into an unknown territory, and maybe there's a PvP opportunity, maybe there's PvE, maybe someone listens to you do PvE and then they come look for you. That is way more the game that we're making, not just go down loot or battle royale, which I think people also just conflate all the time. They just put extraction and battle royale together, and it's like, it's sweaty PvP, and I don't want to do it. It can be more than that.
Yeah, I mean, from personal experience, I really prefer the it's what you matter on the ground that does it. Like, clones as ammo in terms of like, you're meant to be replaceable, so that you're being hired to accomplish things on the ground, and that's your kind of main goal was kind of really appeals to me. I find with the extraction setup, what I'd like to see them kind of develop a bit more is that if I'm kind of like going down to looting gun parts, but I already have a gun part, it seems a bit like, I don't feel it suits the setting as much, if you know what I mean, where it's kind of like that small scale. I'd like to see it much more kind of, you're being hired to achieve things on ground that's much more important than your life, because you're inherently, your one clone body is replaceable.
Yeah. Yes. What would an immortal soldier be doing? Like, what are they doing? They're doing more heists. They're more doing assassinations, like that kind of stuff. I think is more akin. And we're aware. Like, I think a lot of the experimentations we've been doing in the closed alpha is, okay, will people mine at all if we offered that as a supplementary thing? So it's also just like pushing out and then pulling in, pushing out, pulling in, trying to figure out like what resonates, what's fun. I actually enjoy the core loop more than I expected to be honest. Like, I feel that I can be like, I can blame myself for a lot of like things that I run into where I'm like, oh, I should have crafted better ammo, or I should have brought something. Like, I feel I blame myself, and I had some ways around this, which I like. I like this kind of self-sufficiency. I like crafting like my own stuff. I used to be my World of Warcraft career was mostly like picking flowers and doing alchemy, like that. Like, that's what killing PvE and running into PvP was kind of like an extra. I just all about the flowers, running around on my goat picking flowers. So like, I think there's a satisfaction in some of this gameplay that is like, maybe you don't see it until you do it, that it's not just about PvP, it's about like also discovery and going down into a cave and finding something, or like, I think the exploration part is very exciting. So it's not all about PvP or looting. And even if you die, like, yeah, you can, it's easier to reclone in this game. Like, it's not just a die and you're out kind of thing either. So I think we're trying to be a little bit more flexible in this we used to, we talked about sandbox MMO or MMO FPS. These are they're all trying to say the same thing. It's more of a planetary adventure that sometimes involves killing. Most of the time, it involves killing, but.
Yeah. Well, I think Vanguard being shown so early to players, like kind of the open playtest and the VRP playtest, means it is difficult because it's not going to be a linear process. It's not going to be like we're making a game and we're only going to ever make it better and better and better. Like there are, like you say, it's experimental phases in terms of so I think that's what maybe CCP needs to make sure people are aware of, communicate well, that it's going to change as it were. What it is not the same.
No, I think it's a very catch-22 thing. It's why did you show us this? It's so ugly and unfinished. Versus why didn't you show it early enough so we could give comments and help you build it as a community? This is very tough. Okay, maybe I should have waited longer before I showed you these assets, or we're fine. We just take this in stride and we say okay, we'll see you next time. Give us feedback, keep giving us feedback. We'll work on it. And you can see this with a lot of now, I would say faux early access games. They're not early access. They've been ready for months, and they're just pretend early access. And now they are compared to our real early access. And now we're shitty and not as sophisticated or not highest quality, and we don't have 20 weapons. No, because it's early access. So I think it is a very difficult market today for sure to try to figure this out. What is the right path to develop something with the community without being exposed to the heavy criticism of both the community and press. So we can just see this in recent games. Sometimes they're highly polished and they're great. Sometimes they're highly polished and they're not great. And who the hell knows why one game wins and why they don't? It's very difficult. So we are just going to keep to it. We're going to make the game that we want to make, and I think that there's loads of people who want to be on that journey. But it's a marathon, not a sprint, and we have the stamina to learn and to kind of grow with the community. I think we've shown that.
That sounds good. I mean, yeah, like you say, there's plenty of casualties out there in the kind of the game space at the moment with the kind of recent launches. I mean, who do you see Vanguard's market kind of being in terms of, do you expect, let's say, 50-50 EVE players and general FPS, or, obviously you could skew that, but who's your audience at the moment?
So our primary audience, even if it's not immediately now, because this is a snowball effect, there is a mass market appeal that we hope to get to, but it's not really EVE players. They're not enough to sustain a game and it's not made for EVE players. It's a new EVE universe game that will appeal to EVE players for sure, but we are building for the people who want some kind of higher meaning. And this goes all the way back to MAG players and PlanetSide 2 players and World of Warcraft players and DAOC players who wanted to change the world, but it never actually changed anything. You just won the Battle of Tarn Mill today, and then it's lost tomorrow, and nothing really changes. So I think that's the FPS player that wants something more than just reset, a sequel, the latest game, something that persists, something that's there when you come back in 6 months or 9 months, something that just is there. I think the best game, not the competitor, I won't say, but the best analogy is Warframe. Warframe is just the game that kept doing the same thing as EVE did, just kept true to its spirit, true to its art style, true to everything. It just kept adding stuff. And I think that's how live games and games as a service, or whatever you call it, is how we want to build our games, is that we build them to last.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the aspect I like about Das Planetary Conquest. Like you say, it's not like kind of wake up in the morning, everything's reset. All those victories are gone. It's like that territory you hold will still be there in the morning. You've obviously got to defend it when the scheduled matches kick off, but it's like it is that kind of kind of permanence and like something you're building towards. Do you think that's something that we'll be building towards in Vanguard as well? That kind of player agency side of things.
Oh, 100%. So there's loads of ways to do this kind of stuff. For example, planetary conquest being an owned area. That's not like a thing that like is difficult to make in principle. You just have to have a guild structure in some way to acquire it or like fight over it on a grid. I don't know if it ever made it to Discord, but we have this idea of a meta layer between the games where guilds can basically, we called it bastions. Yeah, it's been talked about at FanFest. So there's this meta layer. You can just call it like orbit. Like just imagine it as the orbit between space and planet. Even if it's not like metaphysically the orbit, but like it's a layer. And we imagine that like social gameplay happens on this layer where let's say that you and I, we make a guild together and we like get some people together and we build our Warbarge. And now actually like a Warbarge, not a 2D Warbarge. And we can move that Warbarge around on this metaphysical layer. And by existing on this layer, you exist both on the planets, but you also exist in the EVE universe. So you're potentially an entity that you can interact with as an EVE player. And that interaction is like up to us. It could be something that just helps you in your day-to-day life. It might be an influence in faction warfare. It might be just imagine it as a buff of some sort. So you will now start to social mobilize. You would be incentivized as an EVE player to have loads of little guild warbarges in your area, just kind of like a beehive. It's just good for you and your garden to have this. So you will promote it. You will help. You'll try to get more players to join your corporation or live in your garden. That's basically it. Not necessarily like be in your corporation. These are two like autonomous beings or corporations, but it's a symbiotic thing. And this is what we call bastions. I think warbarges is an easier term for it. And I think that's something it's a collective thing for the Vanguard players to do and build towards, kind of like a social space or a social hub. But also something that becomes the manifestation of that clan or guild in EVE. So a very simple version of it would be, if you know the item trader concept in EVE, basically these kind of roaming merchants that we introduced. That could be basically a warbarge. You like if a warbarge is in your area, you can go buy cool stuff from them. That's it, like a little black market. Yeah, so there's just like a million interesting things that like just like open your mind towards how do these games work together.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, it's kind of the challenge that we know it's so early on in development as well. So these are all things like, we're looking forward to down the line, but it's kind of, getting there as it were. We're going to wait.
So I think the alpha that Collins talked about is way more nailing the shooter aspect. It's all about nailing the core loop. It's the gunplay, which I am not like, which needs improvements for sure. I think it passes muster. It's not like competitive, but it's good enough right now. That needs to be better. We need to level up our NPCs, our AI, to make it feel live, make it feel more like interesting and compelling, not just kind of cannon fodder. And we need to have this higher purpose in every extraction or every deployment. Is that you go down there for a purpose, an objective, and it is a puzzle to be solved, whether it's difficult PvE or the presence of PvP. But you need to figure something out, win that, and I think have a higher purpose. And we've talked about a higher purpose, obviously being something like drop-to fitting or something. So like in some quest of like, what is the thing that you like really want in your progression? Like you have your lowest loop, which is just you and your gun, and then what's the aspirational content? It's obviously to get another suit, level up that suit, fit that suit, etc. So like there's a mini loop, and then there's this kind of suit fitting loop on top of it, and then what is that, like how are you getting the modules, how are you getting the like whatever you need, like all the cool stuff. So we are also thinking about like the lore, the narrative, but also like what is a challenging thing, like what's the aspirational goal in this game, not just to kill PvP or other war clones. What's aspirational. So I think we'll shed more lights on that at FanFest as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. FanFest, yeah, hopefully get a few more details and look forward to it. Yeah. Just kind of looping back around to like some other kind of questions about Dust as well, like just some kind of like soundbite stuff as well. Like, what was your favorite event that we did for Dust? I mean, we did like the million clones. We had stuff like the officer naming event and like Blood Raiders and stuff like that. Do you have anything that speaks out?
Kaldari Prime is the best one. Yeah, it just like that nailed everything like that I wanted to see. Just having a Crash Titan and the skybox and all that, just like it just felt like a moment in time. It was super cool.
Yeah, definitely good to watch.
The scale of it was just so insane.
Well, in terms of like work on Dust on the EVE side, in terms of the link, I mean, was that kind of pretty much finished by the time we roll around to FanFest 2014? Was that kind of like because I know obviously with the kind of Incarna backlash and Jita riots and stuff like that, the focus became very much like developing EVE. So did the link development suffer a bit because of that?
Maybe, yeah. I think a lot of things took our attention on the EVE side, and this became I had conversations with the EVE team a few times about trying to like at least understand some technology and how we could grow it or add to it. I remember some of it was around the Planetary Conquest game mode itself. I wanted to add some kind of a new layer to it. I can't remember what it was, biomass or so I was like poking around in that game mode. But off the cuff of my like, I don't remember specifically any features, but there was like they were happy to help if we had like something concrete, but they weren't actively trying to build on top of it. Like you said, I think there were fires burning elsewhere at the same time.
Because from what I understand, the Kaldari Prime event was obviously very popular, but it was very intensive on the EVE side as well to kind of like get all those kind of get all the pieces in motion and like actually do the live event.
Yeah, I think at the time I think we didn't have a lot of live tools. I think we're much better now to support this kind of stuff. So, but it has been a bridge to build to also like the first event. The first Strike event wasn't really like something that the EVE team was just like, screaming jolly about doing. It was more like, hey, we kind of have to do this. Like we have to prove a point that this is a major part of the Vanguard and kind of growing the EVE ecosystem is to do this. So I think, we need to harden that muscle too. Just the team collaboration and seeing the value from both sides. I can tell you the next event we'll do in July is completely different. I think there's a group of people that is wildly excited about on the EVE side to kind of build on the last Nemesis event and do something super interesting.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, because CCP Shortfall and his team making a kind of Quasar back end like layer that talks between the games. Like apparently it's like it's been tested obviously with the own playtests we have, and so it's a kind of a robust system that should allow those kind of like mentioned before, like orbitals and that sort of thing potentially in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've done 5 tests now, like live tests, but loads of little integrations as well, like in the meantime, and it's always evolving. So like I think it's truly a unique thing. Like if I can point at anything that CCP has done that is like truly innovative, is this Quasar technology and connecting 2 games. Like there's just no other game that does this. No one.
Yeah, exactly. It's the unique selling point. It's the standout, really. So I mean, long ago, that's what first got me into Dust in the first place. My housemate's PS3 told me about. I'd played EVE Online previously, but my housemate had a PS3. I thought I'd try it, and it's like that kind of unique link really kind of stood out.
Yeah, I never really interacted with the link, but it sounded cool enough. It just needed to exist for me to be excited about it. It's like it's strange. Like the USP is not something that you interact with per se. Like, but the fact that it does is super cool. I never played like the 40-man raids in WoW. I just like didn't want to do it, but I knew they were there and they were aspirational and they were cool. And I would watch the videos and I watched other people do them, but I just didn't do them myself. Even if I didn't play them, it didn't mean that they meant nothing. Every game needs a pyramid of some sort of like, there's aspirational goals that you kind of pretend that you will ever do, but you never actually do. Like platinuming Dark Souls, or like doing a no-touch run on Bloodborne or whatever. Like I'll never do it, but like the fact that it can be done is still something that's attractive.
Well, I think it speaks to the diversity of playstyles. You know, there's just so much to do in the sandbox of EVE and in the formats we had in kind of like Dust as well. And I liked the ingenuity of the players as well. We had unofficial exchange rates going between Dust Disc versus EVE Online Disc. You could contact Victor and like get cash in your Dust Disc and EVE and vice versa. Really, so it's just that kind of, again, that's the sandbox aspect of it.
Yes, yeah, just very cool stories.
I'm kind of running low, but in terms of biggest question has to be the myofib jump changes in Dust. Do you regret those? Was it controversial?
I don't think that anyone, like, I think it was a dying EVE kind of the game. I think it was just to have a little bit of fun. Regret them? No. But they didn't. The implementation that got into the game wasn't what we prototyped. So like it wasn't meant to be this high at all. There was a missing diminishing returns formula somewhere in the calculations, or like it didn't work on the server or something. But like we balanced it about not being able to jump higher than a person. So even if we stacked them, so that was the intent. The fact that it didn't work or was silly or whatever, like it was just a fun April Fool's on a wrong day.
Well, I liked that stage of the game that there was the option to kind of mix things up. There was an option to make changes to the game. Like I know towards the very end as well, we had these kind of special contracts. I think that for example, CCP Archduke could like or GM Archduke had created his own map kind of thing, which is like kind of hacking together some of the assets. And I think that was definitely like kind of fun as well when you could have that kind of again, more variety.
Yeah, and just crazy. Like we put out the factory map that we knew would crash for some people. Like we knew, like we just didn't know where the bug was. But like we just like for the hell of it, like just let people try it in the last days.
That's definitely good. Yeah, like it's a great game, and I'm still trying to chase that kind of equivalent.
Everyone is somehow like it's the most requested thing. It's like if we show our faces on any social media, it's always Dust 514, Dust 514. It's it's the like endless clamor, and I think I choose to think that it's an ask for a meaning, not necessarily a cloning thing. It's the feeling of being in a universe. Like I think that's what we miss, that there was an actual persistent world around us with other people that like were doing things on their own terms, but it still wasn't the same universe. I just like that feels so. It's intangible and hard to explain, but that's the feeling that I want. I just want to be in a big universe where other people are doing stuff, and it impacts me and I can impact them. Not specifically like some kind of gameplay or a special gun, but just that chasing that dragon.
I think as well, it's just a kind of a popularity around the world. I mean, remember, like you had the Japanese and South American players were really quite numerous as well. So like it was, just it had that kind of all around the world kind of like appeal in terms of you'd be able to get a match like regardless of the time zone.
Yeah, it was a global world as well. Like it wasn't just like named servers or regional servers. It was more than that, and I think that's this feeling that we all miss.
Sounds good. Well, I think nearly out of kind of questions. One last one I have though is how rich were you in Dust? Were you in 100 million ISK, or were you kind of like always scrambling for cash?
So what did I do? Was there
financial analyst? You got to be close on the numbers, right?
Yeah, I actually don't know my money. So I would. Basically, I would just like, if I was poor, I would just run like Apex suits for a while and just save up money. I don't feel like I ever felt poor. I could always buy stuff that I wanted. But I would just buy also shit if I needed. Like I bought so many the elite packs. I think they were like $100-$200 on the PlayStation. Bought so many of them that I had like endless Orm gear in that. So I just use that. But I was always chasing just more SP. Like it was the only thing I cared about. Like not ISK or Orm or anything else. I just wanted SP. I just wanted better gear all the time. Perfect fit.
I'm always kind of like chasing, just knowing when to escalate. When it was like when everyone's busting out their proto gear and you want to kind of like match, and you want to you just have to have that win for that match.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not hesitate to like. I don't remember how expensive the most expensive ones were. Like I'm thinking like it was only 200-400K or something per fit. Was that like a expensive like?
Yeah, I think the
I remember.
Logi the most expensive, I think, because they had slots as well, which took a lot of cash.
Yeah, but yeah, I would not hesitate to go 12 in like the most expensive stuff just to win though. I did not care. I would just grind for something later.
Oh, nice. Well, thanks for spending the time. I think that kind of covers off everything I want to deal with. Like, do you have any points you'd like to raise, or?
I'll probably have loads after I walk away from the computer and like think about things that I should have said. I think the legacy of Dust is something that we just treasure. Like no matter where you were or what you were doing, like it somehow like it felt like a game that we all owned. And I think there's a feeling that we can replicate. I think we can get there with this, and that's my hope. My hope is really not to replicate like gameplay; it's to replicate emotion, and that's like. And I know that you know that I know this emotion, So like it's not just like some kind of, product PowerPoint or something that's guiding this. It's really is an emotional journey in some way, and maybe not even like a sensible journey in some way either. There's probably better ways to make money today.
Well, I think that could be the challenge in terms of like Dust could be considered a millstone around your neck in terms of like you've got this kind of clear game or clear, like say the set modes, the set kind of aspects of it, and you've got a certain player base who is obviously chasing that again. But like I say, if the team can replicate that with kind of a different format, it doesn't need to be this kind of one-to-one. It's that kind of like the feeling the game gave you. That's sort of the key. So
I would say like maybe a similar thing is it's part of the IP. It's the authenticity of the IP, this world that you live in, and that's a lot of what people are talking about. Is maybe, let's say, 20 experiences, but you only have 7 of those, and I have a different 5 that I remember. But in general, like it's a box of experiences that we all share, and some people talk about the tank and this, like maybe A, B, C, F, and G. You have D, X, Y, and Z, and you're like, okay, but we're not even talking about the same game. Like you are describing a completely different game that I played. But this underlying thing is the IP, the overall kind of experience, the emotion of like just being in battle on an awesome planet is like a big part of it. A big community, etc. So I think we have done a lot of work on trying to figure out these kind of, let's say, 25 components or 30 of like what Dust is, what is EVE, what is the IP of New Eden, like what is that people like actually are asking for. And it's similar to just a Star Wars IP. Like, you know what the Star Wars IP is? It's lightsabers and Jedi and this thing and that thing, and like and just like an infinite amount of nostalgia. And then you try something and you do like, Boba Fett saga that not maybe didn't pan off, and you do Ahsoka, and Ahsoka is great for other people, some people, because that did something for them. The Acolyte does something for other people, like people like KOTOR, or like who want to know more about the Sith or whatever. But like none of them have actually hit until Andor. And Andor isn't really like it is a nostalgic play, but it's very authentic, but it's not the same. It's not the adventure of Star Wars 1. It's the socio-politics of like Game of Thrones in Star Wars. But we all probably collectively agreed, like, that's awesome. Like, this is what I wanted. But it wasn't a remake, because that's what 7, 8, 9 were. Just kind of empty remakes. And we didn't want to make an empty remake. We wanted to make something that like nailed everything together.
Well, I look forward to it. Yeah, we're just going to allow the team time to cook and see what they come.
Yeah. See you in playtest. Join up for the VIP. Like, I'm on Discord. I'm on Reddit. Like, just talk to me. Like, cherish memories or send me stuff. Like, I'm around if you want to talk to me. I'm on Discord. You can ping me on Discord. I don't even hide, I think. So.
Watch out now.
Yeah.
Million pings.
Yeah. But see you. And good luck, basically.
So there you have it. I'd like to once again thank CCP Rattati for coming onto the channel. It's not often you get devs so passionate about their old games. I've been enjoying the nostalgia as part of this larger project to celebrate all things Dust 514 on the anniversary of its 10-year shutdown. I'd also love to hear your favourite memories of Dust, so leave them in the comments.